off Sunday? You and me both. Okay, good to see everybody. So, just recapping the draft. Obviously, mine and his staff, a lot of work that went into that. Feel really good about how he came out of the draft with the 9 draft picks and the 10 free agents. That was my first time sitting in a room the entire time, and not going to lie, I was a little nervous when we're on the clock with like 2 minutes left, and he had 3 teams that he was talking to. So it was really cool to see that, and the process of him and his staff, and feel really good about how he came out of the draft. Excited about to get the guys in here. We had a lot of contact with a lot of the guys that we took throughout the process, whether it be at the combine or in the top 30 visits and Zoom calls and things of that nature. But, I think the thing that stands out that I'm most pleased with is the character of the guys. And that was important to me and Monty, our entire staff, of making sure we get high character guys in here, because we know that high character guys typically hit their ceiling and help you win games as a team. So, it was neat talking to those guys after the weekend and just hear that reiterated. Coach, can't wait to get here and do whatever we can do to help the team win. So excited about those guys, and we'll get them here, I think, on a week from Thursday for a mini camp, and we'll go from there.
Where's the best place for Paris Johnson to start this year?
Yeah, we'll figure that out. I appreciate the question. He's obviously played outside and inside. We just got to get him on the grass and see where he kind of fits in with the other guys. I'm very comfortable, what he's put on tape of playing a lot of different spots on that offensive line. So we'll put the best guys out there and the best 5 and see how we can make them gel together and hopefully move people in the run game and keep the quarterback upright in the pass game.
Drew, do you have an option in mind where you think Paris?
Yeah, I think Coach kind of hit it on the head. We're going to get our best 5 out there. So as we kind of go through the offseason and seeing where the pieces fit and making sure that we're playing the guys that give us the best chance to win, I think his versatility is a big part of that. But I don't think we're going to say, hey, it's got to be here or got to be there. I think we're working through that here this spring and into training camp.
Along those lines, where do you, Drew and Jonathan, where do you kind of see the center position right now, given who you have on the roster?
Yeah, I like where we're at right now. And then, we added a couple we added Gaines, and who's played center, a little bit of center, a couple free agents. And, we'll sort that out just like all the other positions to see, what's the best combination of people, who's comfortable doing what they need to do from the center position, both guards position. But I like where it's at right now. Fro's done a really good job for us in there these last couple weeks here, and we'll continue to evaluate that as we get going.
You view that as that group is the biggest competition maybe going into training camp?
I don't know if I'd say specifically that group. I think one of the things that we want to breed is competition at every position. I think that's a big part of being a competitive team and getting your best 11 out there and being hard to defend. So I think that's kind of the mindset that we preach to those guys and the identity that we want to have as an offense.
What stands out with a guy like Toon?
Yeah, I think, Israel had a chance to work with him at the Senior Bowl for a week, so got a feel for his personality and how he processes and how he plays the game. So really just excited to get him in here and watch him go to work and learn the offense and compete.
JG, Monty kind of talked about this draft class will always be special to him because it's the first one in this position with this franchise. How about for you? What was it like for you to be a part of this and be a part of the phone call that changes these kids' lives?
Yeah, it was great. You know what I mean? Obviously, these guys have put in, a lot of work to get to this point that they're in, of getting that phone call and the sacrifice that goes into, ever since they were little kids, and I'm sure that was a dream of a lot of those guys. But I think now what I'll talk to them about is it really doesn't matter how you got into the building. What matters is what you do from here. And I always talk to them about, how can you create value for yourself as you get into the building? And it's a ticking clock, you know what I mean? And coaches are no different. And because at some point they're going to say, this organization is going to say, hey, we value you or we don't. And, typically I talk to them about if we value you as an organization because you've created all this value on and off the field and what you do, in between the white lines, in the community, in the meeting rooms, everything like that, you're a good citizen, probably other organizations value you too. So I think that's the main point of now you're kind of your clock starts over, good job, but then now your clock starts over, you start from ground zero.
For Drew and Jonathan, what's it like seeing Kyler and Paris start to develop a friendship or relationship?
Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I think it's you always want that bond. I think guys that feel close to each other in terms of shared common goals, guys that have a respect for each other and have that relationship tend to play harder for each other. So I think it's great to see that, and that's certainly just the beginning of it. And it's not just going to be between the two of them. All right, it's got to be between everybody on that field and in that meeting room. And I think it's a good start, and certainly got a long way to go.
I think, like Josh, just to add on that, you guys saw, and because I happened to be standing there with Paris's presser, and it hit me. It was kind of so, and he actually, I met with him on that top 30 visit after that had happened, and he kind of told me the same thing. And you don't think about it from our seat or our standpoint as far as these guys are really good college players, and they're in the news and kind of public figures, but they still have an appreciation for guys that have done it and played at a high level. And truthfully, he was a little starstruck. You know what I mean? Oh, my God, like Kyler knows my name. You know what I mean? But I think Drew hit on it. All our guys have to feel that sense of connection because you typically, you do a little extra for if you care about people. So our guys are starting to create a good bond of that through these last 3 weeks, and we'll continue to do that.
Nick, your side of the football got addressed in 2 and 3 after the first round offensive player. What is it like? What gets you excited about BJ and Garrett?
Yeah, so I think, like Jonathan already said, every player that we feel that we brought in has high character, right? And we got the opportunity to meet with those guys at the combine, and I mean, it was apparent right away, just in that brief meeting. You're almost speed dating during those official interviews, whatever, in the suites. And you finish those interviews and you're like, whoa. With Garrett and BJ, you're like, wow, those guys, you talk about football character, like what does that mean? Well, they're willing to do whatever it takes to hit their ceiling. And like just within 20 minutes, the love of the game comes out in those guys. Because if you're going to talk that detailed about, hey, this is what we're doing schematically, here's my technique, BJ's like, oh, this is how that's tackle set, I knew I wanted to work them like this. You're like, that kind of detail, you only get to that level when you put in a lot of time and you do it consistently. And, it was very clear that with both those guys and really, every guy that we've acquired through the draft on defense, like they love ball and their football character is high and they're going to give everything they got. And then, as far as on the field, ability-wise, I love what Ojulari can do in the pass and run game. Very versatile player. I think he's a very natural pass rusher. You can see his bend. I think, coming off the edge with speed, he can beat you with speed, he can beat you with speed. But as soon as he gets overset, it's not, oh, no, what happened? He's very fluid and natural with his counter rushes. And then on top of that, he can stick a long arm in there and work moves off his long arm. So as far as his rush ability, very versatile, very natural, right? There is a bit of how natural is this guy rushing off the edge? He's very natural. And then I love the tools that he has in the run game as far as being able to set some violent edges and collapse the edge. And that's what we're looking for at that spot. And then, Garrett, another guy, high character. The one thing that I really love that stands out with him is at that position, he possesses a mindset of you have to play with high motor and violence still. And that's something we talked about on defense of this is important. It doesn't matter what the scheme is. It doesn't matter anything like that if you don't play with high motor and violence. And he's going to play that way. And then, his skill set of being able to transition A to B, I think his off man is elite. He can tempo the routes. He can get out of his break and go challenge a ball. Really excited about both those guys' skill sets.
Don't set the bar too high for the guy.
Do you want me to be honest about my excitement or not?
You guys look at Papo, a guy he does have great character. He was a captain, great athleticism and measurables. So why did he fall to the fifth, and what do you guys need to do to get him to?
Yeah, I would think the rounds, everyone has a different flavor of what they like, and I was surprised where we got him, honestly. when you ask the question to players, college guys, that shows my age, what did you study in college? And he was like an exercise science type deal.
Yeah, he's about it now.
He basically said, I want to really be a strength coach after I'm done playing in the NFL. And he looks that way. But I just thought that was kind of a cool answer because he was a little bit lighter, played safety, then kind of changed his body. I think that he fits the description of what we're looking for. Everyone, has different things, what they like to do with linebackers in this day and age. But one of our huge criteria of linebacking play is being able to play in space. And, Kaiser was a safety at one point in his career, and he's really no different. So the ability to run from sideline to sideline and match routes and cover receivers, that's all critical to that position. So, when he came in here, another guy that came in on his top 30, and I remember shutting the door, and I was like, geez, man, that guy is on it, and we'd love to get him, and Monty did a good job.
I'd piggyback too, as far as just his play in the box. I think one thing that I'm very excited about is his ability to process, diagnose. He's got a natural feel to play in there, and you could tell he's played a long time at a high level in college football, and you can see whether it's the run play, getting to where I have to get to. Oh, here comes this blocker. Let me transfer my eyes to the block, defeat the block, get back to getting to the ball carrier. Very polished with his skill set at that position.
Drew, I know with Wilson, curious your thoughts on Wilson. I know the guy who runs the Senior Bowl. He labeled him one of the biggest sleepers he thinks was in the draft. And so just curious your thoughts on him and what you feel he can really do well at this level.
Yeah, I think he brings a lot to the table from the receiver position. Certainly his size, his fluidity, route running, at the catch point, really smooth athlete. So excited to get him in here and let him compete and see what he can do on the field. But I think he does bring a lot to the table and gives these guys a lot to think about in terms of how they would want to defend it.
Jonathan, what kind of quarterback is Tune's potential, and how much do you not have to change the offense if he's playing when you're in the Kyler?
Yeah, I think, you saw from the tape what it showed was he can make all the throws, and he's a big guy that's mobile. So that's probably a better question for Drew, but I don't, I think that, obviously he's a little bit different than the other quarterbacks that we have here. Not to say that he can't function like that, because I think he can. But if he's out there playing, then we're going to do everything that we can to tailor fit the offense around him, just like we would do with anybody. So, but what I was impressed I didn't realize that he was, that big, how he moved around. And I think that's valuable in the 2023 in the NFL right now.
Regarding Isaiah Simmons' future, what's in the conversations about his role going forward?
Yeah, I had a really good talk with Isaiah. Obviously talked to Isaiah a lot. Really comfortable with where we're at with him. He's very comfortable with it. And, the option or whatever, it really doesn't change. That's why I love where I say I'm really comfortable where we're at is, and comfortable where he's at is. Doesn't change how he goes about what he's doing. And he knows he has to play well for us and for him. And that's like everybody. So really like where his mindset's at, and excited to get to work with him.
Nick, where do you envision Zaven playing on the field this year?
Well, Zaven's got obviously a diverse skill set, and with that, you can utilize him in a lot of different ways. Whether it's playing linebacker, playing on the edge, blitzing up the middle, blitzing off the edge, dropping into coverage, you can really do it all with him. And it's not just the skill set, it's his intelligence, right? You have to be very intelligent to be used in a versatile role. So, he gives us a lot of flexibility on defense. So there really isn't a black and white answer with that. It's multiple, right? And it makes you less predictable as a defense, and it allows him to utilize all the different traits that he has: intelligence, speed, motor, tackling ability. It really brings all of that out within his game.
From a football standpoint, like going from inside to outside, though, like eyes are different.
Yeah, you just hit it right there. Eyes are a huge thing. And the great thing about it, he's done both. And so you definitely have to retrain your eyes differently from playing on the edge. you almost narrow your focus a bit as opposed to playing stack. You're in the middle of defense. You got to see everything, right? And he can do both. I think the key is that when I'm inside, this is what my vision is like. When I'm outside, this is what my vision is like. Being able to transition in and out and getting comfortable with being able to do that. But he's definitely has the trained process to do either or.
Same thing with really Isaiah, I guess.
No doubt. Versatility.
All of the above.
Yes.
How do you maximize what he can do within the scheme and what he's asked to do?
Yeah, I think number one is you get really good at one thing and you keep building off of that, right? And again, Isaiah, he's picking up everything that we're installing extremely fast, which get you really excited to say, okay, let's keep adding, because again, the skill set, versatile, the intelligence, high, be able to do a lot of different things with one guy to bring out all those different skills that he has.
JG, with rookie mini camp next week, what are you going to try to accomplish with those guys?
Just like what we've been doing out on the grass, I think get them comfortable with how we operate in this building. So we're going to set that standard. And then basically get them out on the grass and kind of, start introducing techniques and schemes and get them to know where everything at is in the building. And because they're not, how we chose to do it is once they get here, they're going to stay and they'll be submerged with the vets, which was important for me. So I think that, and you also, I told the coaches this morning, it's like, when I was a position coach, well, I'm going to do this with them and this with them and this with them and this with them. And I always, had to learn kind of, well, he's got other stresses going on too. He's, it's a new strength program. It's a new recovery program. It's a new scheme. It's new installation. So we'll make sure that we get done what we need to get done with them, but keep them mentally fresh as well, because they've been going a long time now. That's why everyone talks about the rookie year and the rookie wall. They think, oh, you haven't played this many games before, which is true. But if you think about their last year and a half, getting ready for their college season, going playing all their games, bowl games, all-star games, whatever that is, training for the combine, going to the combine, training for their pro day, going to the pro day, flying on top 30 visits. Okay, now train for a rookie minicamp, get to rookie minicamp, go through that, and then 6 weeks with the vet, go play football. Oh, and then you get 4 weeks off, and then you're playing for 20-some-odd weeks. That's why, you know what I mean? That's why the rookie wall is real. So we just got to make sure we're doing a good job of managing their energy systems.
Beecham and Murray have cleared the air over some of the things.
Absolutely, 100% they have. Yeah.
You just mentioned all that rookies have to process. So you get your draft got J's mostly. So it kind of puts the onus on you guys as coaches, right? I mean, it's kind of like it's a win-win hopefully. But there's when you talk about how much they have to process and what you have to teach them, and you guys have obviously done it before. But I mean, there's a lot of learning on your part on how much they can handle each guy individually, right? So how much do you embrace that challenge?
Good question, really good, and I think it is a big time challenge, and you gotta learn about the person first before you get to that. And I think Monty said it best about the A grade. We'll see in a couple of years. I've been on teams that you maybe get not a very good grade and they end up being really good players. So. And vice versa. So everybody's different. But I think that there is a challenge to you got to figure out what makes them tick and how they learn and all those things, all the different ways that you can teach something to somebody. You got to figure out, just like all our guys right now, what is the best way for them kind of to do that. So, and that takes a little bit of a process, but we're excited about it.
Clayton Tune said, I feel like I'm the steal of the draft. He told us he feels like he's the steal of the draft. Michael Wilson, I think, was the guy who said, I'm sorry, I'm getting that. Michael Wilson said he thinks he's the steal of the draft. Clayton Tune said, I feel like I'm the best quarterback out there in this draft class. How do you guys feel about those kind of statements? I mean, do you appreciate that kind of
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Drew talk about that. I think that you better come in here with some confidence, or the league will weed you out pretty quick. So, I think that the most important thing is what is in your brain, and we'll help educate them on what should be in their brain a little bit. But come to work every day, and those things kind of take care of itself. So, it's one day at a time. Get a little bit better each day. and see if the job of the players is to maximize themselves, and wherever that takes them, that's where it takes them.
For any of you guys, we know how chaotic it can be when the draft is over with the undrafted guys. Is there a couple that you know pretty well, and you said, boy, I'm glad we got that guy. We really feel he can come in and compete?
Yeah, I know I have that answer, but go ahead, you guys. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, well, with Kyle at linebacker, we had the privilege of he was here at the local pro day, and so it was really good to be able to see him in person and work with him. You can't undervalue that ability, that interaction of when you're on the field, right? And so not only did we get to see the skill set, the movement skills, but we also got to see kind of the leadership and the work ethic. And so it was really cool. That was a unique perspective with Kyle, because it was, man, we get to work with this guy, and we knew that, hey, this is a guy that we would love to have as a part of our squad.
Jonathan, you touched on the settlement with the Eagles on your radio interview a little while ago. Could you maybe tell us your explanation, thoughts?
Yeah, so it's a mistake that we made, and the league kind of rectified it, and we've moved on. But basically, after the NFC Championship game, Monty reached out and kind of said, hey, congratulations. He's been to some Super Bowls, and gave me a little advice about how to handle that, and said, look, like we're in the middle of a coaching search and don't know how the timing of this is all going to shake out, but basically, would you be interested in interviewing if the timing gets pushed back till after Super Bowl? And I said, yeah, I would be. And then I didn't hear about it until after the game that we played, when Howie came up and talked to me about, hey, Arizona wants to interview you. So, it was a mistake that we made, and I apologize for that. And, looking forward to moving on now and getting going. So that's kind of the story on that one.
Drew, reports out of Philadelphia that it wasn't a conversation, it was a Zoom interview. Can you?
No, it was not a Zoom interview. It was a phone call. And, I've talked to Monty before, a couple years ago, a year ago or whatever, and I picked up, and, that's impermissible contact. So that's what it is, and the league handled it how they wanted to handle it. And, like I said, looking forward to moving on.
With a guy like Michael Wilson, gives you some size out there. How do you assess right now your receivers? Obviously, you've got some good receivers, but Hollywood's not the biggest guy, and neither is Dortch or Rondale. So, how do you assess the size that you need at receiver right now, and is it where you need it to be?
Yeah, I think it's a loaded question in a lot of different ways, but I think the number one job of a receiver in our world is get open and catch the ball. And whether you're small, big, slow, fast, if you can do those two things, we can use you. So I think we're going through the offseason right now and trying to evaluate and teach the system. And right now we really can't even go against the defense. So you're teaching some tools, you're going through technique, they're learning the language. And then I think OTAs will give us a little sense of who can do that and at what level. But really, until you can press and put the pads on, we're not going to know for sure. So I think right now it's about just improving as individuals, learning our language, and so that they can go out and compete when training camp comes around.
Did they talk about things and what was said, or did you just trust them to be pros?
Yeah, I talked to them both about it, and they handled it.
Jonathan, back to Isaiah for a second, just to make sure you guys did not pick up the option, correct?
One more time, Josh.
Not pick up the option.
We did not.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.